Fantastic. You now have an understanding of sprite kit concepts and have sampled some of the Swift code that goes with it. Now I have a treat for you. You're now going to build an app right from the point of getting the idea in your head to going through doing all the research, all the planning, building the app, writing all the code, sourcing all the artwork, developing your marketing plan, and of course submitting it to the App Store. I will not be satisfied unless I get you to a point where you are able to submit your first app to the store and get it published. As you may have guessed, there's quite a fair bit to this process. It's not as simple as writing the code, throwing it out there and just waiting for the dollars to fly in. There's a lot to it, and I want to run you through all of it. I have developed a 10-step plan that will take you from A to Z without failure or quitting. So here it is. Step 1. Design your game. This is where you'll take your ideas and daydreams and work out how you will turn them into a product. This is also where you'll come up with your monetization strategy. This is important. It's tempting to just make the game you want to make without considering the monetization strategy until later. This often leads to poorly implemented strategies bolted on at the end and can severely impact your product's performance. Step 2. Research. By this point, you know what sort of game you wish to make. Now it's time to jump on the App Store and start searching. See if there are any similar titles and see how they have done. There is nothing wrong with having games similar to games which already exist on the store, as long as you have some different hooks, the things that make your game special and unique. Also be careful you don't infringe on copyright or trademarks. This is where you really want to do your research. You don't want to put all this time and effort into your game only for it to end up in an ugly lawsuit. At this stage, you also want to make sure that the name you wish to pick for your game isn't taken, as it's good to be as unique as possible. App Store searches prioritize words in the title over keywords. This doesn't mean filling your title with a heap of redundant words. It means picking a good name so that when people search your app, it will be the first or only result. Step 3. Prototype. Now that you know what you are going to do, it's a good time to start making sure that your idea is going to work. So grab some dummy artwork and other resources and throw together a quick working demo of some of the game's functionality. A lot of this code may then be recycled in the actual game. Step 4. Designing your game architecture. Now that you have designed how your game will look and function from a conceptual perspective, it's time to work out the higher level mechanics. This step will get easier with time and experience, and I will be sharing a lot of information on this subject to get you started. It's also important to note what art, sounds, and music assets you'll need at this point. It can get messy trying to source all this stuff after the coding has already begun. Step 5. Sourcing your resources. So you've listed the assets, now it's time to actually go get them. This might mean doing the artwork yourself, using Creative Commons and public domain assets, or hiring someone to do it for you. I will provide you with plenty of advice on these points and show you how to make some of the assets which are harder to outsource, such as the logo. Step 6. This is where you're going to actually create your game engine. So this will be the most time-consuming part of the process. Thankfully, you'll have all the resources you need. Now it's just a matter of coding it and putting it all together. I will be running you through how to code this game from start to finish. It's important to note though that 90% of your programming time will probably be trial and error, just to get the code right and debug any errors you come across. No programmer is perfect, and it's important not to go in with false expectations of your own performance. Even seasoned veterans will research simple math and compilation errors quite frequently, so don't feel like you aren't doing good if you run into a lot of brick walls. A good programmer is someone who knows how to knock those walls down. Running into errors is not failure. It is simply something you must overcome. If you treat every error as a failure, you won't get very far. I'm telling you this because I've cut a lot of the trial and error from the coding videos. This is because I respect your time, and watching me change insignificant values isn't teaching you anything. Don't worry, we'll be talking about debugging a lot along the way, so you'll definitely get a lot of value out of this experience. At this stage, you'll also be setting up your developer account, App ID, and preparing iTunes Connect. Step 7. Creating the content. After the game engine is sorted, you need to give your users something to do. In the case of this game, you'll be making multiple levels that work within the same game engine. If your game procedurally generates levels, then you may feel this step is redundant, but even procedurally generated levels need objects and different types of terrain and different level generator algorithms in order to make the experience exciting and diverse. There's always more you can do to enhance your game. Step 8. This is where you start your marketing process. There are some people who say you shouldn't market your game prior to release because people will forget. This is dead wrong though. There are many ways you can get followers interested and keep them interested and also keep them connected, so even if they do go away and look at other things, you'll be able to notify them when something interesting happens. Being able to send all these people to your game on release day will give you a big boost in downloads and make it much more possible to get into the top charts. I share with you many resources in this lesson. Even if this is the only video you watch, you should still take away a lot of value. Also, talk to me about your product. If I like your product, then I'd be happy to help promote it through my channels and social media as well. Step 9. Test your app. Now is the time to start playing it and find any last minute bugs or anything else that can improve your game in these final stages. You can also use services like TestFlight to distribute your game to people who can test it for you. This may be friends and family, but should also be people who do a lot of game testing for fun, as they will be looking at things your family and friends won't be, and they will tell you problems that your family and friends would probably feel uncomfortable telling you. And the final step, the marketing and release day. This is where it all comes together. So set a firm release date, make sure your app has been submitted with enough time for review and some extra time in case it gets held up in that process. This is where all your plans go into action. I have heaps of links to help you with this process to make sure that on release day you feel like you have a solid plan. It's also important that your marketing doesn't stop at release day, so we put together a little bit of a plan to help you market as times go on with a weekly schedule. That's it. That's my 10-step strategy. Now it's time to walk you through the entire process and take your idea from a dream to reality.